All right, everybody, in this update video on NEWT, ticket symbol NEWT, I'm going to go over a pretty dramatic change in the dividend, pretty big increase, and some reasons why you might want to invest in NEWT, not only for the dividend to reinvest more shares, but for the high yield that could help invest other different ETFs and companies. Let's get going. All right, so if you look at the description below this video, I have all the links provided, so feel free to do your own analysis as well. For NEWT dividend, that's ticket symbol NEWT, doing this video on June the 12th, and you could see that it went up 7% today, even though the market itself is up about 2 to 3%. So why did it go up so much? Right now, the Dow's not even up 1%, but NEWT is up a lot more. So NEWT is a business development company. What that means is they're essentially a small bank. They make loans to medium-sized businesses that have a little bit of difficulty getting loans from the major banks, and they make money on either equity that they buy partial shares, a little bit like Shark Tank. If you invest a few $1 million, you may get a certain percent of the company, or they make loans where they'll have a pretty decent interest rate. The NEWT Business Dividend Corp, if you look at the dividends, the stock price is at $16.82, but when you look at the dividend history, they pay a pretty high dividend. The reason why is they need to provide 90% of the earnings that they make back into dividends, back to the shareholders. That's in order to be a business development company. So you can see quarterly dividends in 2018 was about 40 cents a quarter. 2019, went up to 46, 58, and even 71 cents in December last year. Then last quarter was 44 cents. So they've been increasing their dividend pretty steadily. If you look at the dividend from last quarter, 44 cents, you take the dividend price, dividends of 44 cents divided by the share price, and you see it's a 2.6% dividend payment in that last quarter alone. So if they had the same dividend payment for all 4 quarters, you do 2.6 times 4, and it would be about a 10% dividend yield. So very high dividends, and they've been increasing their dividends. I'm not really playing this as a capital gain in the share price. As you can see in history, the share price has been pretty steadily up, made this typical W, not V-shaped pattern, and it's creeping up to increase back to what it was before. This was in the last year. When you look in the last 10 years, a 181% increase. This was before they were paying dividends, 2012, 13, 14. Here they started paying dividends, so it didn't go up as quickly. And in the last few years, it's been pretty level, but remember getting that 10% dividend. So if you're reinvesting into more shares of NEWT at 10%, you're going to be getting a lot more shares. So even if the stock price is level or slightly lower, you could actually get a higher than 10% total yield on cost over many years because you're getting more and more shares, and those shares will buy those 10% of the dividends. So in the news story today, NEWT declared a 56 cents dividend. So instead of 44, let's do 56 divided by 1680. And we're getting a 3.3% dividend payment. So it increased about 0.8% in the dividend payment from last quarter, even in the middle of the pandemic. The forward yield is 14.29%. That's assuming that they paid the same dividend every quarter, which may or may not happen, but at least for this quarter, it's paying almost 4% dividend. Now, why were they paying this dividend? This was from June 2nd, just 10 days ago. NEWT closed on funds of about $1 billion of PPP loans. The PPP loans were loans that were given during the pandemic from the federal government. They're giving very low interest rates on these loans for companies that closed during the pandemic. If they could keep their workers working, they're able to get these loans from the federal government. Now, the federal government wasn't directly processing these loans. They had banks do these as well. NEWT, even though they're a business development company and they typically make their own loans, they did a lot of these PPP loans as well. What's good about these loans is for every loan that they process, provide to the federal government, they got a small fee back. So they're not going to be earning income on these loans for many years, but they get an upfront payment. There's no risk for NEWT once the loans have been processed. It's the federal government at this point. So they, again, $1 billion of its 1.15 billion loans with the SBA Small Business Administration loan number. Estimates it'll fund in whole or part of its remaining 150 million. So there's still a little more ways to go. Definitely want to check out if the federal government allows more loans to happen. NEWT will definitely try to get more of those. They're still accepting loan applications. Again, there's more than 100 billion appropriated remaining from the federal government. They could guarantee at least another 150 million, and they might be able to get more since they're doing these processing pretty well. They've estimated that more than 130,000 employees could be retained. That means the small businesses that are getting these loans, they could keep their workers in the workforce, so they're providing a good service for these businesses to not have a lot of unemployment. Another article from last month. Excuse me. You see strong Q2 earnings due to that CARES Act. They've received $17.7 million from the U.S. Treasury Department to pay principal and interest on loan portfolios, so they help lower the amount of debt that they had on their own. Net investment income, 21 cents per share, is pretty high, especially with the pandemic. The net asset value was $15 on March 31st. That did decrease due to the pandemic from December of last year, but I do expect them to increase later on. So a few different ways that you could take advantage of this. One is to simply buy more shares of a certain company. I'm going to type out a few options that you could do. So one is with these dividend payments, if you find other companies that you want to start a position in, this could be a good company to help feed these other possible options. So let's say, for instance, I'm looking at Starbucks. I'm looking at Pepsi. I forgot what Pepsi stock symbol PE, but it's not. Possibly Coca-Cola. It's KO. All of these are dividend growth companies, so the dividends will increase over time. They don't pay as high of a yield as NEWT, but they'll be pretty consistently increasing their dividends. Starbucks is one of them that I've been taking a pretty close eye on. If you look at Starbucks dividends in history, the dividend is not super high. The share price is $74.34, but as you'll see, the dividends are not anywhere close to 10% on that. So if you go to Seeking Alpha, dividend history, see this increasing dividends per share. The last payment was 41 cents. So you take 41 cents and divide it by 74.35. You get about a 0.5% per quarter. So we're looking at about a 2% dividend right now per year. However, looking at the dividend growth history, this has been steadily increasing. So we could do with these dividends from NEWT, you're getting about 3.3% dividends based on the shares that you buy currently. If you take that money and to open up new positions and say Starbucks, and then hold these for a long period of time, you could get increasing dividends that eventually Starbucks might have higher yields than even NEWT would. What I've been doing is just reinvesting back into NEWT. So I'm about to get my dividend payment. I'm going to buy more shares of NEWT. I currently have about 150 shares of NEWT. They declared a 56 cents dividend, so times that by 0.56. In the end of July, I'll be getting about $84 in dividend payments. With that $84, I could buy one share of Starbucks for free, and then that share of Starbucks will get me 2% yields that will grow over time. But if I buy the $84 into more shares of NEWT, the NEWT's 1682. So if I divide the $84 I'm going to get into 1682, I'm going to be getting almost 5 shares of additional NEWT stock. Now let's say the next quarter we get the same 56 cents. Those 5 free shares that I bought will reinvest the next quarter, 56 cents per share, let's say. I'll get an extra $2.80 3 months from now. That $2.80 plus the 80-something dollars that I got from previous quarter will buy even more shares, could buy 5-point-something shares. Over many, many years, you could get a very high share number. And then if the share number is very high and the dividend yield stays pretty high, you could get a very good dividend payment over long periods of time. So again, those are 2 possible options: either reinvest back into these high-yielding dividend companies, business development companies, or you could look at dividend growth companies like Starbucks or Realty Income. There's a lot that increase their dividends over time. So those are 2 main options to grow your wealth in the very long term. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know, and I'll see you guys next time. Smash that like button, share with other friends and teachers. Have a good one.